Welcome to City Life. I'm Beverly Thompson. Wanda Page has been a long respected presence within Durham City government. Now she is our new city manager, a role that Mayor Steve Schewel has said she seems like she's been preparing for over the past 30 years. Joining me to talk about her new position, as well as how she hopes to lead the city in addressing many of the challenges that it's currently facing, is Wanda Page. Wanda, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Beverly, for having me today.
Glad to have you. I know how busy you are at this time of year. So let's start out with the basics, Wanda. A lot of people hear the term city manager, but I'll bet you few really knows what a city manager does. So can you tell us, what is your job? What does a city manager actually do?
Well, Beverly, thank you for giving me an opportunity to give that question a shot.
Okay.
So in a council manager form of government, like we have here in Durham, North Carolina, a city manager serves as the chief executive of the municipal government. The city manager is appointed by the mayor and the city council to really manage the city. And the manager bridges the gap between policy that is set by this governing board and the city administration who carries it out. The city manager, among other things, hires department leaders that manage the different functional areas of the city and delegates operational responsibilities to these leaders. I'm going to change from the city manager to she, because that's me. So she creates and manages budgets and strategic plans. She oversees major projects and initiatives. She communicates with employees of the government, the city council, and the community regularly, providing important information on city matters. And she represents the city as a trusted community leader. How was that?
It sounds great. And she was interim for 6 months after Tom Bonfield retired in the fall. So what is the biggest difference that you've seen so far between being interim and being named the permanent city manager?
Beverly, I will begin by saying my transition to city manager on an interim basis after Tom Bonfield retired was really seamless. Tom and I worked together for 12 years. So much of my experience as interim and permanent city manager has been literally the same. I would say, though, that if I had to choose, the biggest difference so far between being the interim and the permanent is beginning a new budget cycle compared to coming in to the middle of an operating year. And in addition to ensuring that all the city's basic services are covered, this year's budget allows the manager, me, to recommend initiatives that align with my leadership priorities and the new priorities that have emerged under my leadership. So meeting with the city council and city leaders to set these priorities, as well as engaging and re-engaging the community to check in on these priorities and turning these priorities into recommendations. As you well know, so much has been changing in our lives over the past 12 months. And so interim, we were in the throes of the COVID pandemic. Now we're coming out of the COVID pandemic. So I would kind of focus in on that topic as being one of the main differences.
Okay. Well, I know now you've had some time to get your feet wet with the position. What has surprised you most about being city manager?
Well, Beverly, as you said, I've been around for a really long time. So nothing much surprises me in this position. I have served city government over 30 years, and I have really helped to solve many complex issues and problems over this time, as well as having an opportunity to participate in exciting new initiatives that have improved the quality of life of our residents. If I had to pick one thing, I would say it still surprises me how difficult it is sometimes for information flow to go throughout our organization, even in an era of advanced technology. I think we've made great progress over the years, improving our organizational culture as well as our communication, but there's always room for growth and improvement. What hasn't surprised me, you didn't ask me that, but I'm gonna tell you that, is
Okay.
the many employees and community members and elected officials and others that have provided me support and encouragement in my new role, and I really appreciate it.
Mhm.
It makes me happy to get up every day, and it makes doing this job much easier.
We are so happy to hear that. And you mentioned you've been with the city for a long time, and you've had a number of roles. I think one of them you didn't even remember until you saw paperwork that you were packing that you had served in. And what was that again?
It was deputy tax collector
Deputy tax collector.
in the 90s.
Wow. So doing all those things within the city, including that role, you are definitely not a stranger to Durham. So what do you see as the biggest challenge facing residents right now?
Beverly, Durham is a large, it is a diverse city, and it is certainly growing every day. You sometimes hear it said that Durham is a tale of two cities, a city of those who prospered from growth and development and excellent job opportunities over the last few years, and those who've been left out for one reason or another. So I believe that is probably one of the biggest challenges that I believe are facing our residents right now. In my role as city manager, I think I can help address some of these issues by leading in three areas. One of them is being an affordable housing partner, being an economic development partner, as well as an employment development partner. And I focus on those three things because they are quality of life issues in our community, and they serve as a basis for closing some of the economic gaps that we have in our community. If a resident has an affordable place to live, they have a living wage job, they can participate in the economic growth and development that goes on in a community. Mm-hmm. And we can then all work together to continue to make Durham a great place to live, work, and play.
Okay. I know one big project that you have expressed so much excitement about is bringing the internet or Wi-Fi connectivity to the Durham Housing Authority. I mean, that wasn't a question we were going to discuss, but that kind of falls into the social justice, making sure equity is, at the top of our minds in city government. Can you tell us a little bit about that project and why you thought it was so important?
I certainly can, Beverly. The city of Durham fortunately received CARES funding back in August. We received $2.9 million, and we had to come together and decide how we would want to invest that $2.9 million. Out of those discussions came about half of it, about $1.5 million that we determined we could invest in bringing free Wi-Fi to every public housing authority campus where students resided, where students live. There are a couple of inputs into that. Students were remote learning. They needed to be able to access the internet in order to do the schoolwork from home. There was no possibility at the time to attend school in person. So the educational gap could have been widened without some of those students being able to have access to the internet. It has taken us a little bit of time to get that going, but we're very happy to say that it's well underway, and we look forward to making further announcements about it as it expands across all of those campuses.
Thank you so much for talking about that. I just wanted to definitely get that into our conversation. I know that is something you are so proud of, and it will be a lasting legacy for Durham. What about the organization, the City of Durham organization? What do you see as the biggest challenge facing us right now?
Beverly, I could name a few issues that I believe that are facing us as a city organization,
Mhm.
just like it is other cities around the country. And most of those things would resonate with everyone who's listening today, but I'll respond with just a few. And number one on that list will be creating a safer community. It's very, very high on the list.
Mhm.
And the challenges in this area are great. Effective solutions are complex, and they really involve constant innovation and a broad range of collaborators and partners. Another issue is the impact and persistence of inequitable systems that continue to, have an effect on the quality of life of our residents in our community, past and present, particularly in communities of color. These inequities have led to slower than desired progress in areas that I've just mentioned earlier in a conversation, like economic prosperity and safe,
Mhm.
affordable housing options for all residents. These are just a few of the examples that will take creative, innovative thinking and consistent, sustainable, and equitable engagement to find solutions that lead to real progress.
Mhm. Okay, and you are working with staff to address those inequities and those challenges as well. Can you give us an example of how you plan to address those issues?
Yes, Beverly, first I'd say that, in order for the city government, for us to effectively partner with the community to find solutions to
Mhm.
these and other issues, we must prepare and plan for a strong fiscal recovery from the effects of the global pandemic and its unprecedented impact on many of our short and long-term master plans, as well as the financial models that we developed pre-pandemic. My first budget recommendation will be coming next Monday night on May 17th, and it will include some of these initiatives and potential solutions. Equitable recovery efforts from the pandemic will be one of my key responsibilities as Durham's city manager.
Okay, thank you. Wanda, we knew residents would have questions for you as well. So we asked on social media, if you could ask City Manager Wanda Page one question, what would it be? And I want to give you just a few of the questions because we don't have time for all of them, and I'll stop and let you answer each one individually.
Okay.
Okay, Josh Griffin Marketing asks, why does the city refuse to do anything about the dirt bike riders, the street racing, and the escalation of gun violence in Durham? And that's a lot to choose some of it to answer, but
Yes.
if you could
Well,
just try and
Beverly,
answer that.
you're correct. There's a lot in that question. And I would respond to that question um, first by saying, anytime the city knows about a problem, there's at no time are we refusing to do anything about it. Sometimes the things that we do are incrementally effective, and they don't always solve the problem immediately, or solve it. We may not even be able to solve it ourselves, the city government. We have to solve it along with other partners in the community who may have jurisdiction. As it relates specifically to dirt bike riders and street racing, obviously some of those matters are, they're traffic violations. They are, the kinds of things we do have jurisdiction over. And I can assure you that when, it isn't, when those street racers are racing and they encounter our police department when they're breaking traffic violations, they're going to be cited for that. So I know it is a nuisance in the community. We have heard about it. We get reports about it, but I assure uh, Josh Griffin Marketing that the city is not just refusing to do anything. And that also goes for escalation of gun violence in Durham. gun violence in our city. It is a problem. It is a problem in many big cities, but we don't want it in this city. Gun violence affects it affects the victim. It affects their families. It affects even the person who's committing the violence. And we know that we have to address this problem in a lot of different ways. We have to improve our investment in root causes of violence. We have some examples of investing in violence interruption. During my tenure as city manager, we've invested almost $1 million in the Bull City United initiative of the Durham Health Department that is strictly dedicated to interrupting gun violence in our community. So I hope that Josh Griffin Marketing will keep an eye on what the city is doing, what the city has, in its toolbox to do, as well as watch us partner with nonprofits and other governments to help reduce or eliminate some of the things he's mentioned in his question.
Hear you. Okay. So moving on, Love the Bull City wanted to know, how can the city work with business to expand outdoor dining and shopping?
Well, Beverly, I will begin the response to that question by stating the city council at its last work session placed on its agenda, consent agenda, to extend outdoor dining for another temporary period. The city is also looking at, the potential to make some changes to some of its zoning to, maybe permanently have some outdoor dining that didn't exist prior to the pandemic, particularly in the downtown area. So I would recommend that Love the Bull City, I think that's who you mentioned, to continue to watch the city council's actions, provide input, and we'll see where it goes.
All right. Okay. Working on it. DeWarren Langley wanted to know, what are your plans to strengthen the Youth Work Summer Internship Program to increase the number of internship opportunities?
Thank you for that, Beverly, because that is something that is at the very top of my mind. And thank you, Mr. Langley, for asking that question. This summer, we plan to increase the number of internship opportunities for our youth to almost 500. That has been a goal to raise that number for several months this year. And we see some light at the end of the tunnel that we may be able to do that with partners that we have. We are targeting to have at least 480 opportunities for our youth. This summer, 4-week internship opportunities. We're continuing to look for partners in order to make that program very successful. We have a great partner for a component of it, and that is Durham Technical Community College, that is going to actually engage with all of the students for a portion of their experience. And then we are looking for additional opportunities for those students to actually engage with employers and individuals who are doing jobs that will help them focus their attention on opportunities that they may, in just a few months for some of them in a few years, lead them into a job that is very high paying. And as I spoke about earlier, have them be more involved in the economic prosperity of this community.
And that's important, especially as we get high-tech companies like Apple and Google placing facilities and hiring people here in this area. And so the internship opportunities are awesome, just to give people or young people a foot in the door. So we're just going to take one more question, okay? And I know we're kind of short on time, but Misplaced Microphone, love that name.
Okay.
Would you be in favor of upzoning or not? And are you in favor of mixed commercial and residential zoning or not?
That's a lot, but
It is
I'll
a
give it
lot.
a shot.
Okay.
So Beverly, there are times when an upzoning is appropriate and it does benefit the community. It can provide additional housing, it can provide more shopping, medical, office opportunities. And these, these opportunities provide employment. It can provide much needed services for residents if thoughtfully designed. Mixed use zoning with both residential and commercial uses integrated on one site can connect residents with the commercial amenities needed for everyday life. And that can reduce auto dependence. So as we continue to strive for more walkable developments with accessible housing and commercial opportunities, we encourage developers to engage the community to provide critical input into the design of these projects throughout the rezoning process. Fortunately, Durham's development plan rezoning process provides a way for developers to commit to going above and beyond minimum ordinance requirements in response to community concerns or simply to make a better project. So I hope that that has been responsive to misplaced microphones question.
All right. Thank you so much for answering those residents' questions. Let's move on. I know the announcement to hire you came just as the national search to fill your position was just getting started. Mayor Steve Schewel said that city council members realized just how fortunate they were to already have someone here who has essentially been preparing for this role for all of her 30-year career. In fact, one council member called you Magic Wanda. I love that. What do you say to that? And how do you feel like you've really been preparing for this position for your 30-year tenure in the city?
Well, Beverly, I would say that I'm not quite magic, but I'm very, very dedicated, and I use every experience that I have had in my long years of employment with city government to prepare me for this role at this time in my career. I've spent a lot of my time in the financial part of the organization, learning how we fund, how we invest. Over time, that has informed what I plan to do as city manager in terms of some of our new priorities. It did not certainly take me any time to come up to speed in that area. Over my 30-year career, I have also been involved with directly overseeing departments that serve the community directly, like our Parks and Recreation Department, our Community Development, Neighborhood Improvement Services Department. So reconnecting to those departments on a day-to-day basis has been exhilarating as well. I could talk on and on about that, but it would take a lot longer than we have here today. But I am just honored. I am thrilled to have been the choice, the selection of the mayor and council to lead this city at this time. And I plan to give it my best every single day, along with the 2,600 plus city employees that I serve with in this great community that we partner with as we deliver services to our residents day after day.
So we're going to have you back then, okay? Since you could talk a little longer. But moving on, as you mentioned earlier, one of the most important aspects of your job is to serve as a bridge between the policies passed by City Council and actually implementing them through the city organization. How do you see your role working with both current and future City Council members throughout your tenure?
Beverly, that is a very good question. Being the city manager is a very unique position. I have direct engagement and direct communication with the mayor and city council as my direct bosses, if you will. So it is very important to me to have effective, transparent communication with the city council members. So I can turn the policy direction that they bring to us from the residents that place them in position into our organization and use that policy direction to implement effective and efficient services back to those same residents. I see that as something that is extremely important to the work that I do on a daily basis. And I strive to manage my communication, hone my relationships, uh, get deeper understanding with the current members. As if new members come on board, onboard them with, bringing them up to speed on major projects that we may have in the pipeline, and starting that same cadence with new members if we get new members during my tenure. But that is it's very important to me.
Okay, all right. Now let's get a little personal. Now, I personally have known you since our days at Carolina, right? We won't talk about those, but I know that a lot of people would like to know you just a little better. Tell us about what you like doing in your personal time.
Well, Beverly, I don't mind sharing that with you today. So, in my personal time, I will first highlight that I love spending time with my family. And when I say my family, it includes my immediate family, my husband and my adult children. I still call them children, but they're adults, as well as my extended family, my father and my sister and my in-laws. So if I can be around family, I'm happy. I like to rest. Just get away from everything. No TV, no cell phone. Nothing electronic, and just rest. And then third, as a third thing that I really like to do, I like being outside. I have been an athlete in my past, not so much anymore, but I like to walk. I like to walk on Durham's trails. Part of the American Tobacco Trail is right behind my home. So I walk on the American Tobacco Trail sometimes by myself, but with my family members as well. And recently, I've made it back to the golf course, to Hillendale Golf Course. So that is one of my pastimes as well. So that's a little bit about me. Okay. And I didn't talk much about my interest in personal, community service, but that is always there. I intend to volunteer at a COVID vaccine pop-up clinic at my church this coming Saturday, the 15th. I'll give a little plug for that. It's the White Rock Baptist Church, and we will be having a COVID pop-up clinic in partnership with the Durham Public Health Department this weekend. And I will be there being assigned to whatever duty I'm given by our health ministry at the church. So I'm always looking for ways to get involved in the community as well.
There's just so many things to do here in Durham. But tell me, what do you love most about Durham?
So, Beverly, one of the things, and I can pinpoint it because of just what happened this weekend. The food in Durham is great. Definitely. I love eating, and I love eating in different restaurants, and I love eating different kinds of food. And I actually love the conversation that goes on when I'm having these meals with friends or coworkers or family members. So just this weekend, I was able to go back out to a restaurant with my family. It was Welly's for a Mother's Day brunch.
Yum,
and it really brightened my weekend and ties right into the question you just asked me. I love Durham. I love Durham's food.
Many would agree with you on that. So Wanda, we're running short on time, but in closing, let's not use your WandaVision to talk about where you see Durham within the next 5 years.
Okay. So Beverly, as a well-managed city, and I don't have to tell you that Durham is a well-managed city, Durham is consistently developing long-range plans covering many areas, including our general capital facility improvements, our transportation system and assets, our infrastructure improvement and expansion, land use, community development. Our plans are being developed and updated now that are really going to be being shaped by equitable engagement priorities and lessons that we have learned from the COVID-19 pandemic. These and other considerations will lead to a community that is designed for the future. 5-year futuristic statements, they're always interesting to think about and are usually developed through a community visioning process. So I don't ever want to leave the community out. Durham's current vision statements were developed this way. I believe Durham's vision statement, Durham is the leading city in providing an excellent and sustainable quality of life, will still be relevant at this future marker. Implementing strategies today to close the quality of life gaps that currently exist among residents will permit us to arrive in 2025 and beyond in a city where economic prosperity is shared by all, our residents live in safer communities, and these communities are connected, engaged, and diverse.
Okay, Wanda, thank you so much for joining us. And you have to promise me that you'll come back.
I will.
All right. Thank you so much, Wanda. We look forward to your leadership. Well, that does it for City Life. Don't forget to follow us on social media, watch us on Durham Television Network and on YouTube, and listen to our podcast on iTunes. I'm Beverly Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me to learn more about city life in Durham.